Jake here, bringing you another brilliant Monster Monday, which is the best way to start your week if you didn't already know that. This week features yet another collaboration with the mecha-making madman, Cam McLeod, as I take a shot at building a cybernetic serpent from the Horizon franchise, specifically the Slitherfang. Naturally, I hope you'll give the video a like and maybe subscribe to the channel, but I'm not going to bog us down with that. The Slitherfang here showed up in Horizon Forbidden West and is a fearsome combatant machine encountered at multiple points throughout the game. It's one of the stronger machines, taking the shape of an immense mechanical cobra while being armed with a wide range of weaponry. I based my design off of a mix of Cam's own design and its appearance within the game, but there was a slight instance of miscommunication. I thought Cam told me it was a CR-15 creature, and I built it as such. But apparently that was utter delusion, I don't know where I got it from, and Cam actually built it at level 17. Obviously, my take on it is not that, but maybe this one just isn't operating at its full capacity, and the numbers could be adjusted with little issue if you want to make it a level 17 creature. As is the case with the other machine monsters I've made, the Slitherfang uses the construct, robot, and tech traits, making it a technological terror to target your team with. We'll open our discussion, as we often do, by looking at some ability scores. The Slitherfang, despite its lack of legs, kicks it off with an extreme strength, inspired by its stupendous serpentine stature and mechanical might. I followed a lot of Cam's design process here when it came to ability scores, which means next up is a high constitution, followed by a merely moderate dexterity, which seems a bit odd for a snake, as they are often associated with the likes of finesse and grace. But, it's also a big heavy machine. This leaves it with a low wisdom, as it has the lowest impact on its general design, at least in regard to its positive ability scores. Charisma and intelligence are even less. Now, while only wielding a low wisdom, the Slitherfang has a moderate perception, to aid it in catching prey that is trying to slip by it. Further aiding in that effort is dark vision as well as tremor sense, since it does have a pretty decent burrow speed. When it comes to skills, its acrobatics are moderate and based on general usefulness, but its athletic skill uses an extreme bonus, so that it can contain captives in its chromium coils. Getting then into the defenses of the sturt diving denizen, the Slitherfang uses a moderate armor class, given its vastness, while also trying to account for its agility as a serpent. As is the case with the other horrors from Horizon I've made, I included components for our computerized Cobra, which uses an AC that is 1 point above high, since its armor class is already moderate. Now, maybe it's that my players are masochists of some sort, but they felt content with a high pool of hit points for the Slitherfang, which might be at least partially due to its high weaknesses to cold and fire damage, some of the most common energy damage types in the game. I thought that was balanced by its more moderate resistances to acid, electricity, and physical damage, but they all felt it was fine. However, they did argue for a change regarding its saving throws. Originally its top save was Fortitude, but after the test they petitioned to make Reflex its highest save, on account of it being a snack. This led to me moving its Fortitude to a moderate bonus, whereas it finishes out with a low Will save. Cam's intent is that these machines do still have minds, some sort of neural network that players can affect, so it's still a very viable strategy despite the array of immunities often associated with constructs. Finally, when it comes to the Slitherfang's offensive capabilities, it's important to keep in mind that the speeds it has available to it. It has a pretty high land speed to close on enemies with, as well as a decent burrow speed that it might make use of, though players can target the rather fragile Earth Grinders component if they want to shut that option down. Combat-wise, the Slitherfang is equipped with 3 strikes. I want to start with its range strike this time around, the Boltcaster, which is built into its tail. This uses a moderate attack bonus while only dealing moderate damage, some of which is splash damage to represent the electricity arcing to other nearby targets. From its more melee menu, it has a tail strike with a high attack bonus and moderate damage. In addition to the incredible reach on this tail, it does have the improved grab ability, so that it can capture prey using its athletics. We can then close out on its Fang Strike, which has a moderate attack bonus but high damage, and this is factoring in the acid damage, which is of particular note as we'll see in its abilities. A central aspect of the Slitherfang is this acid, this purge water, a chemical that serves as our Cobra's venom. In the Horizon series, this could afflict the player character with the drenched status and prevent the usage of elemental effects. For those more familiar with Monster Hunter, it has some similarities to Dragon Blight, an effect that I actually have replicated in a previous design. I used the same idea then as I do now, translating this effect into the fantastical world of Pathfinder as an anti-magic effect. While the effects reference the anti-magic field spell for simplicity's sake, I felt that it should feature a save since I did make it into a passive effect, and the decision behind specifically using a will save is twofold. Firstly, it diversifies the Slitherfang's saves. As we get into its other abilities, you'll see plenty of reflex and fortitude saves, with will being the odd one out. And this was my opportunity to include it. Secondly, the characters that are most likely to be affected by this sort of thing, specifically casters, will tend to have better will saves. So while this effect is more potent against spellcasters, they should have the best chance at resisting it. It still has some solid use against martial characters as well, specifically in disabling their magic gear, but it doesn't take them entirely out of the combat, as demonstrated by our fighter in the Monster Mash, who got a Purge Water bath and then still proceeded to shatter the Slitherfang's hood component. And that was before I went and adjusted the duration of this effect. Now when it comes to spreading that Purge Water around, there's obviously the Fang Strike, but the Slitherfang does also have access to Toxic Stream. This is a wide line based on the immensity of our Cyber Serpent that deals a bit below limited use area damage, since it carries a potent poison of Purge Water. This targets a high DC reflex save, and it's honestly a pretty simple and straightforward ability, as much of its complexity is wrapped up in Purge Water. Notably, players can disable this action and the acid damage on its Fang Strike by breaking the Venom Sac component, though it is the part with the highest amount of hit points out of them. That being said, the acidic Purge Water is not the only element in the Slitherfang's arsenal. As already heralded by its Boltcaster strikes, it can unleash lightning from its tail with the Bolt Smash action. With a relatively short range and no cooldown, this deals unlimited use area damage at a high DC reflex save, but the Slitherfang may have to be a bit cautious when it comes to placing the area. After all, it is not fully immune to electricity and may catch itself in the crossfire. Crafty parties can try to position themselves to take advantage of this, or may simply target the Spark Rattle component to disable both this and the Boltcaster strike. But even if they do, the Slitherfang still has a few tricks up its sleeves. Rattlehood allows it to unleash a large sonic effect that deals limited use area damage. Aside from the area afflicted, it does switch things up a bit with a high DC fortitude save, rather than one for reflex. Additionally, characters that critically fail on their saves against this effect are left reeling and struggling, which is represented by the Stun 2 condition that this imparts. Of course, as with the other effects that I've presented thus far, this too can be disabled by targeting the hood component, as it was over on the Monster Mash. Among its more mundane abilities is the eponymous Slither Charge, which is still nothing to scoff at. This involves movement and strikes akin to a trample, though I did specifically want it to use strikes so that it could trigger things such as the improved grab of its tail. After some debate with the test subjects, we settled on keeping it mostly as is, but added that all these strikes are made at a -2 on the attack rolls. We kept the penalty untyped, so that players can stack it with all other sorts of penalties that they may want to toss on it. To further play with the general idea of it though, it can also drag creatures with it when using this ability, and its Serpentine Grasp allows it to hold an absolute array of adversaries in its alloyed extremities. The wording on this passive effect might be a little funky, but I based it off of the giant anaconda, so I hope it's all fine. And finally, related to all that is Greater Constrict, which is actually a standard monster ability. I have it dealing around low damage for a strike, and using a moderate DC, since failing to save against Greater Constrict can apparently leave the enemy unconscious. It's easier to wake up from unconscious than one would think, but that moment of vulnerability and potentially lost actions, especially if the Slitherfang can snag the whole party in its coils, is brutal, and something I wanted to be cautious about when it came to designing this sinister serpent. This is one jam-packed threat. Summoning shocking streaks of static, sounding supremely with sonic screeches, and surging with spell-stuffing showers, this cyber serpent seems to storm in the shape of a sinister steel snake that is certain to spread some suffering to your squad. I might have messed up the level a little bit for the Slitherfang here, but I'm pretty happy with his design and I hope you are as well. It is a mighty mecha monster that may guard desert ruins that the heroes wish to enter, or you could have an enemy that has enlisted a Slitherfang or two to create traps and pitfalls in the earth that the heroes must delve into to put a stop to them. Let me know what you think of this monster and what other creatures you'd like to see in a comment. If you like what you see on the channel and want to see more, check out the Monster Monday blog, which is linked below along with a Twitter and Discord. Thanks for watching and have a monstrous Monday.